Hey guys, Bowie here, and today we're going to talk about things pro players do that you should as well. At this point, most players know that you can figure out where the enemy mid-ward is by sending your hero or a unit close to trees that are in aggro range. Usually, the tower would never be able to attack this treant because even though he is in range, the tower has no vision of that area. So, if the tower is attacking, there is another source of vision there, and probably it comes from a ward. The tip though is something that I see being done way less often: denying said ward before the enemy can take it down. Usually, the enemy mid will use the bounty rune gold to buy a sentry and then take it down. So if you're paying attention, you can deny it yourself. This makes him waste 75 gold buying the sentry whilst denying 100 gold and 50 experience. This is pretty big for mid matchups. In the last video, we talked about dragging creep waves to farm the offlane safer as a carry, but that concept can be translated to any lane. In the mid lane, heroes that have AoE abilities like Alchemist, Ember, Kunkka, usually melee heroes, can make use of this trick. It increases the speed that you farm because you're farming wave end camps, but in this case, you can see that the result is even better since Arthur is denying enemy farm while at the same time he can do tier 1 tower damage without any risk whatsoever. Dragging creeps is overall underrated even in high MMR games. Farm is what cores need, but objectives like runes and towers need to be considered too, and dragging creeps, especially when the enemy is showing multiple heroes, allows Arthur to steal an enemy bounty rune without having to give away enemy mid lane farm that he so much craves. Just to reiterate how dragging creeps is important, we have Puppy playing position 5 puck this game. The hero is not melee, and Puppy's goal here isn't to farm faster. The sheer act of dragging creeps increases the speed that this super important enemy tier 1 tower falls without him having to risk anything for it. Obviously, in cases you know you cannot die, you can push the tower even faster by right clicking it, but just doing the first part will change your games a ton because it will give you map pressure without any of the risks associated to it. In a way, this trick also involves dragging creeps, and while it's subtle, it is super important. Controlling where the creep waves meet as a carry oftentimes influences whether you're farming as much as you can or whether you're buying salve after salve just to be in the lane. Ramses in this game had a wave marching under his tower because his support pulled. When someone single pulls a small camp, oftentimes the lane creeps will not die to it and they're going to be dragged very far away from your tower. This can be awful because now you're going to have to choose between not showing in lane and missing a lot of farm, or showing and either burning a lot of regen or dying. In some games, you can tank the whole wave and the enemy is not going to be able to harass you, but in this case, Beastmaster has boars and there's also a Wind Ranger to harass Ramses, so he fake drags the creeps under tower. He clears a couple of creeps but not all of them. This still allows him to control where the creeps will meet without taking unnecessary damage. Usually, a support hero rotates to the mid lane at 4 minutes to help his mid player get the rune. In many matchups, whoever picks it up gets a great advantage, forcing the other mid hero back to base in a key part of the game. If a mid hero has to walk base, he probably won't be level 6 to fight for the bounty rune, allowing the enemy player to also steal the bounty, snowballing his advantage by taking resources away. This is exactly what happens to Arteezy in this replay. He was facing Sumail mid, Silencer rotates, and Tusk doesn't because he had to walk back to base, he was low HP. Since he couldn't contribute, he TP's middle even though nothing interesting was happening there, to make sure Ember wouldn't lose the advantage he gained in that lane. He is slightly ahead in experience compared to Sumail. Being vigilant of your mid player, not only to help if he gets ganked, but to assist him with resources like refilling the bottle, can make or break games as you climb MMR, since it's mana and HP that allows him to gank side lanes, and if he's constantly forced to go back base without any help to contest runes, it's pretty likely he won't be impactful in the early game. Also, if you're really committed to getting MMR as a mid player, It's then your job to look out for support players walking base when you need a bottle refill, since it's likely a lot of supports in many brackets will not do this move consistently. Since we're talking about bottle, there is a pretty cool move that I learned from Arteezy in that same game that I want to mention. In many mid matchups, having your bottle before the 4-minute rune spawns can be game changing because it allows you to use 6 bottle charges if you actually get the rune. In this game, you can see Arteezy microing his courier from the usual position it stays to a position where it's in max range from the shop range. It allows him to save about 5 seconds when the courier is coming, and it had the potential of being super impactful. In a game no support rotates, he would have the bottle in time to at least guess the left rune spot, and if he was lucky, that could be a game changer. He could obviously guess the rune regardless of having bottle or not, but losing the power effect and 3 charges is obviously not great. You might encounter games where even though you feel much stronger when you fight outside of the enemy base, it's still incredibly hard to breach their high ground. So hard in fact that you can end up losing the game if you attempt to do it multiple times without the proper items, because you're giving your advantage each time you lose the fight. A very common trick to deal with that when you're playing heroes like Phantom Assassin, Medusa, Gyrocopter, and Terrorblade is to buy Rapier when you get Aegis. If you're ahead, it's probably not going to be hard to get Aegis, and the Rapier Power Spike very often is the only thing that might give you the edge over annoying heroes to go high ground against, like Zeus, Gyrocopter, Sniper, and etc. It allows you to win fights easier if it comes to that, but more importantly, it helps you destroy structure so fast that the damage these heroes usually output won't be fast enough to kill you twice before your job taking Rex is done. A lot of Dota players have no idea of how and when to trade against their enemies. In this game, Zai ends up being alone for a while against 2 heroes with the wave pushed quite deep. On top of that, Dire blocked the large camp creep, so he can't even pull for himself, and he's waiting for his support to do that. Most players would be away from the lane and sad, or they would be in the lane taking damage, but Zai uses the fact that CK wants to farm creeps in the wave to trade versus Rubik. While CK understands he can and should help, he also doesn't want to lose gold, and this weird situation allows Zai to get a first blood Dire would never give away had him started a trade at a different time. I also want to go back a little bit to a tip I talked about in the first video regarding fog that I think is super important. Looking for fog when you don't want or cannot do damage is a constant aspect of really good players. And watch how Zai, as he notices Chaos Bolt is coming, finds a tree area that hinders the 2-second stun completely useless. Rubik did 0 damage during the whole thing, and that's one of the things that allows Zai to get first blood without being afraid of dying before it. Support players oftentimes have the wrong idea about how and where to play Dota 2. Usually when you win a fight like this, you want to tell your allies to push a tower or get an objective. Unfortunately, while the fight is close to the enemy bot tier 1 tower that they want to take, the creep wave doesn't allow for the tower to be taken, and considering how low in mana Puppy is, going base is his only way to fix that. Since he has a little bit of mana left, he can use his time walking base to clear a couple of jungle camps in the way. He loses a couple of seconds, but because Dire has 3 dead heroes, it's unlikely any of his cores will be punished by this since they are, well, dead. Timing your movements around the map, whether it's jungling, warding, stacking, can also be seen done by No-Tail. He TPs to aid in a fight, and a small tip I want to add is the fact that he had time to cast his Q for a long time, but he waits Fortune's End to do so. Mirana and Pudge players are at fault of this all the time. They have an ally that can reliably stun someone so that the unreliable spell isn't anymore, but they go for it anyways. So chill, breathe, and cast your spell afterwards. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about is the fact that he goes for this fight, and since he has a Magnus PA, there's definitely an incentive for Ancient stacks, and he runs towards the Ancients to get it done while he goes back to his lane. It's awful when two cores TP in the same lane for farm alone. That almost never happens in higher MMRs because usually there's not enough farm in that area, and when people realize two cores TP there, a smoke to the other side of the map is very likely to happen. This prior knowledge is what propels Arthur to push bottom regardless of his HP levels. In this case, he has an illusion rune that in his mind is what will save him from global silence since he can dispel it, but he gets G-baited by something completely unrelated, Lelis, the Sand King. If we go back a little bit, we can see that he catches just a glimpse of Arteezy walking to farm that wave, and while he is the first one to TP, he never shows. All the while, Rubik just TPs middle and walks super awkwardly in the creep wave. If I had to guess, Lelis asked them to all show mid, and the bait ends up successful. The lesson here is, if you're going to TP to a lane a core already went to, and you're a core yourself, you better have a plan to kill someone important, and well, not showing is probably a good idea. Hey guys, how is it going? Wednesday was my birthday, and because of it, I decided to give away to you guys. Despite everything, this year has been pretty great, so I want to share some of that by sending 3 Dota swag packs I made with stuff I gathered from different TIs I went to, and I will be sending them worldwide if you decide to join the contest. All you have to do is click the link in the description, and the contest will be running for about a month to give time to multiple viewers that maybe didn't watch this video to get to it. In case you want a bigger chance to win, you can join my Patreon that has a ton of other rewards. If you join any tier below the Meta Aficionado one, your chances of winning will double. But if you join the Meta Aficionado tier, you're gonna get 5 times better odds. Just DM me on Patreon with your glim.io ID for me to update the odds. If you didn't hear of my Meta Aficionado Patreon tier, not only you're gonna get a weekly updated list of the 25 best heroes to play in Dota right now, and also how to build and when to pick them, but you also get a 20-minute weekly video of me talking about trends I noticed. Mask of Madness Anti-Mage, Veil Axe. That is the type of thing I will comment about in the videos before you even get the chance to watch the actual video on YouTube, and that might get you some free MMR before everyone else. Guys, thank you so much for watching, commenting, and subscribing. If you want a more premium experience than my Meta Aficionado tier, you can DM me on Twitter to get the rates for my coaching. If you got back to Dota because of COVID or the Compendium, make sure to join our Discord server. There, you're going to find a pretty friendly bunch of people, and maybe you'll find someone to play ranked games with you. In case you want to watch me stream or play, follow me on Twitch. And that's it, guys.